Hello, world. Good morning. Today, I have the privilege to talk with Dr.Robyn Alders from Australia. My name is Hristina Crenn, a social media intern for One Health Lessons. Good morning, Dr. Alders. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Good morning to you, and thanks so much for getting in touch.
You're welcome, and thank you for finding time for recording this interview as well. Um, could you please briefly present yourself and tell us a little bit more about your academic and professional background?
Thanks. I was born and raised on a grazing property, a grazing sheep and beef farm in Australia. I studied veterinary science at the University of Sydney and went on to do a PhD in veterinary immunology at the Australian National University. However, at the end of my studies, I decided that really clinical work was not where my interest lay. Over my time at universities, I'd become very interested in international development. So my first job after completing my PhD was at the University of Zambia, where I taught for 3 years, and that was a wonderful experience. From there, I've gone on to work at universities. I've worked for non-governmental organizations. I've worked for consulting firms and consulted to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the International Fund for Agricultural Development. I'm currently an honorary professor with the Development Policy Centre at the Australian National University and a senior consulting fellow with the Global Health Program at Chatham House in the UK.
All right, impressive information. Thank you for sharing all of this. And it is very interesting that you have worked in many countries during your lifetime career. I don't know how you were doing it, at the same time being away from Australia and then living in Zambia, and then moving to the UK, I suppose, right?
Actually, I consult with Chatham House, but I'm not based there. Outside Australia, the place where I've lived the longest is in Mozambique. I also had 3 years living in Massachusetts while I worked at Tufts University, involved with their international veterinary medicine program, and that's how I got to know Deborah Thompson.
Excellent. Regarding the UK, you're collaborating with them from Australia.
Yes.
Excellent. Recently, you have done a TEDx talk, and if you can eventually tell us a little bit more about your experience with TEDx talk, how was the feeling to talk in front of students and adults who perhaps never heard of veterinary medicine in terms of research, and eventually later on we can mention the term One Health.
Okay, thanks very much. The TEDx talk was organised by postgraduate students at the Australian National University. It was a very exciting event for me because for 6 months we'd all more or less been in lockdown because of COVID-19. So the talk in October was my first chance to be in front of an audience after several months. My talk didn't really focus on veterinary medicine. The title of the talk was Eating for the Future. So it was really focused on sustainable diets. And it's in response to the concern that we're seeing globally around the role of agriculture in greenhouse gas emissions. And often that discussion takes place in isolation from understanding the human body and human nutritional physiology. And one thing that I've found, my training as a veterinarian has been very helpful because it provided me with an approach to comparing different species. So when you study vet science, you study many different animal species. You look at their anatomy, you look at their nutritional physiology. And so that helps me to think a little bit about humans, about what our gastrointestinal tract is like, and what that means for our nutritional physiology, and how we can think about nourishing humans in a very efficient way that also makes us healthy. So the talk is under 12 minutes. So if people have time, please, it's posted up on YouTube. And I'd welcome your feedback on it. Thank
Sure,
you.
we will share the link of your TEDx talk under the description part. It is going to be, the link is going to be present in the description box on YouTube below this video interview. Yes, and actually, I'm curious to know what is the future of veterinary medicine and sustainability in Australia.
So that's an excellent question, and I think it's a question that faces the veterinary profession worldwide. And we are dealing with multiple challenges or existential threats. As a profession, we need to respond to and contribute to mitigating climate change. We need to look at issues around sustainable development and competition for resources. So currently, with over 7 billion people, it's not only the people that are consuming resources, it's also the domestic animals that we choose to raise. So today we have more domestic animals than ever before, both animals that are used to provide food for animals, but also our companion animals. And those companion animals are frequently dogs and cats that have very strict nutritional requirements. So meeting the needs of those animals also contributes to the burden that we are placing on our planet. So I think as a profession, we really need to stop and think not only about looking at the health of individual animals, but looking at the health of all animals, including wildlife and the natural world where they live. So I think our profession does need to reconsider. Clearly, most vets in Australia work in small animal practice. Very few vets work in relation to farms. And I think that it's a time for reflection. In Australia, we have a group called Veterinarians for Climate Action. They're trying to raise the issue of the need to deal with climate change. Many people will have been aware of the horrendous bushfires, the wildfires that occurred in Australia around one year ago now. And millions of animals, particularly wild animals, were killed during that event. And so it's this organization, Veterinarians for Climate Action, are encouraging vets to think about how we can raise animals sustainably, but even down to running clinics. How can you run clinics with zero? How can you aim to be carbon neutral in your clinical practice, as is happening in the UK, for instance? There is a move in the UK to have human medical services aimed to be carbon neutral, and that's fabulous. I think many professions can aim to follow on that. So that's a very broad view. As I say, most vets in Australia work with small animals, but we do have vets who are intimately involved with caring for wildlife, doing research. The one thing about graduating as a vet is it allows you to follow many different paths after you graduate.
Absolutely. And actually, the same with the legal world. I'm studying law, and often our professors are saying the law helps you, or the law studies helps you out later on to specialize in any field of expertise. And when we're a student at my age, we are not really sure or what shall we study for our master's and PhD degree. And I believe so when is the question of veterinary medicine, which is a very interesting field of expertise, like when I think when I was a child, I wanted once to be a veterinarian, but basically for I was saying to my grandma I would like to be a veterinarian for lions. At the age of 6, I was saying that, and I was saying, and then I when I grew up, I my grandma reminded me of that event, that and that words that I said, and I said, oh my goodness, to be a veterinarian for lions, that's super difficult. Indeed. And it is a very, very funny moment that I remember from my childhood, because nowadays, to be a veterinarian, it is a very challenging job and requires passion and dedication and motivation as well in order to succeed, to be able to understand the structure and the life of many animals as well. When we're speaking regarding the animal world, perhaps can you please tell us now what is your opinion regarding the term One Health, and what is the future of One Health?
Thanks. That's a great question. And I'd like to link my answer back to your profession, the legal profession. I think getting the legal framework, refining the legal framework so that it can support sustainable development is going to be crucial as we move forward. So I think having people like yourself involved and reaching out to different professions will be very important. To me, I think One Health is a paradigm, and it can mean different things to different people. It was originally conceived as a very holistic view of that interconnectedness of everything. During the days of avian influenza, the bird flu outbreak of H5N1, it became very linked to zoonotic disease. So people spoke about One Health as something that linked animals, humans, and the environment. As we move forward and as we think about that crucial role, particularly of food systems in the health of our planet, I think, and the way I like to think about One Health really is breaking it down to the different components that we need to think about if we're going to achieve a healthy planet. So it is thinking about people, but people are part of the environment. And the environment has been, in many places, quite altered by our activities, including agriculture. So we need to think about soil health, the health of water, the health of plants, the health of people, and the health of animals. So I see One Health as a very broad concept that helps us to take a systems approach to solving problems and to coming up with frameworks and legal frameworks that will support development that is good for people and good for the planet. And one area where I think getting the legal framework refined is going to be very important in relation to trade and food and circular economies. So there's a lot of talk now about circular economies, trying to have a more sustainable approach to the way we do economics. People are talking about circular food economies. And for that to work, we're absolutely going to need legal frameworks that encourage us to do the right thing and reward those who do the right thing. So I think it's a really exciting time, but clearly there's no time to lose.
Absolutely, and definitely in the region where I'm living, we always basically talk about global health and public health, but not really about the importance of One Health. And definitely there is an interdependence between human health, animal health, and environmental health. So definitely we should be aware regarding the promotion, the indispensable promotion of One Health as a notion. And I truly hope that this interview will inspire many young people to take into consideration the importance of One Health as an approach. Dr. Alders, thank you very much for your time today. I am really saddened regarding the bushfires event that occurred in Australia last year. Definitely, in the nature, everything is unpredictable, and therefore, for such unpredictability, it can happen we should be no, I mean, regarding that a sense of unpredictability, we should be having having some sense of preparedness, because for instance, for now I'm living in a region like Istanbul where actually we are expecting a big earthquake to happen soon, a really big earthquake, but we don't know when, and the scientists are conducting various research and studies, and in order to inform the general audience that sooner or later an earthquake will occur, but we should get prepared in advance in order to avoid casualties. And definitely, when the bushfires occurred in Australia, all the world was trying to help out. And I think that this is a perfect example how the importance of One Health is primordial, like in terms of the preservation of the environment. The nature cannot without us, and we cannot live without the nature, actually. So this is the independence that I am talking about. Yes, this is basically what I wanted to share. I would like to thank you a lot for your time for this interview, and wish you all the best with your professional and veterinary work.
Thanks so much. And thanks so much for your commitment to One Health and for providing your time and your expertise to bring this series of interviews together. Thank you. And I really look forward to watching your other interviews. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much as well, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.